everyone, welcome back. It's me, the Part-Time Economist, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to create and customize a violin plot using the R programming language. Now, if you're on this video, I'm going to assume you already know what a violin plot is, what its advantages are, and you just want to know how to create it. So with that being said, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time in today's video. We're going to jump right in and we're going to start creating our violin plot. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is to install the Tidyverse package. This is just a collection of data analysis, data cleaning, and data visualization packages that we're going to use today. Then you're also going to pull it into your workspace using the Tidyverse library Tidyverse command. Okay, so now that you have the basics set up, we're going to work with a data set, and obviously you're going to be working with your own data, but for the purposes of this example, I'm going to be working with the diamonds data set. This is just a bunch of diamonds and their characteristics, right? So you can see here, I have the price of the diamond, I have the color of the diamond, the clarity. I've got a lot of different characteristics. Now, let's suppose I want to visualize a violin plot of the price of these diamonds, but here's the thing. I want to break that apart by the cut of the diamond as well, right? So I don't want to just look at diamonds overall. I imagine, and probably rightfully so, that the cut of the diamond plays a role in its price. So how am I going to do that? The way that I'm going to do that is by calling ggplot. I'm going to pass in data equals diamonds. Now, obviously, if you are working with your own data set, you're going to put the name of your data set here. After that, I'm going to go with AES, that stands for aesthetics, and I'm going to tell it what do I want on the x-axis, what do I want on the y-axis. Now, I'm going to go with price on the x-axis, and y is going to be the cut of the diamond. Now, this is where I want to point something out. So you might be saying, where does price, where does cut come from? These come from the column headers in your data frame. So it's important. You see here, price is lowercase here, right? So you're just using the column header. Now, if I run this in and of itself, oops, what did I do wrong? I need to put a comma. If I run this, it's not going to give us what we want, right? The reason for that is that ggplot, this base function here, is just creating our canvas. We can actually layer a bunch of different GEOM. We can layer a bunch of different geometries on top of this, right? And that's one of the reasons I like ggplot so much. We can easily go from a bar chart to a histogram to a density plot, right? All of these different things. But for our purposes, we're going to go with violin. And what that's going to do is it creates a super boring, super uninspiring violin plot, right? But we don't want super boring. We don't want super uninspiring. We want pizzazz. We want flair. So that is what we're going to add. So the way that I'm going to start off by doing that is, let's suppose I want to change the color. I want to do a different colored outline for all of these. I can do that using the color, and I pass in cut. So what that does is it says, look, each of these different categories here, I want you to color code. If instead of an outline, I wanted the entire shape filled, I would go with fill equals cut. And again, you might be saying, where does this come from? Well, again, it comes from that column header. So remember, in my data frame, I had a column called cut. That's what I'm working with here. Now, this is pretty good so far, but obviously, there's more work that needs to be done. We can add in some labels using the labs command. And we're going to go with title equals my title. We're going to go with x equals, we're just going to call it x axis. Now, obviously, you would put your own titles here that makes sense. I'm just doing something super simple so you can see where everything's going. So y-a-x-i-s. Okay, now one thing you'll notice is that this legend title, right? How are we going to change that, right? Because if we're looking at title, title is equal to title, x is equal to x, y is equal to the y-axis. So you might be thinking, I'm going to type legend equals. If that's what you're thinking, unfortunately, you would be wrong. Don't worry, I make the same mistake. But basically what we're going to do, we're going to go with cut equals legend. Now the reason that we're doing that, oops, sorry, I messed that up here. Fill we need to go with fill equals legend. Now, the reason that we're doing this is because essentially when we are, let me think here. Okay, when we are telling it to change the fill, that essentially is how our legend is getting generated, right? So the legend is getting generated based off this fill color that we use. So I do fill equals legend. If instead of fill, I would have used color here, then I would put color equals legend, right? So I hope that makes sense. We're making some progress, but for the really heavy-duty customization, I need to use the theme command. Now, theme is where we really get into the customization, and theme can be a little bit confusing if you're not knowing what to expect. So I want to explain it, and then I'll show you a demonstration. So when we're working with the theme command, we're going to need 3 different things. We are going to need to tell it, number 1, the object within the graph that we're working with, right? So is it the plot title? Is it the axis title? What are we working with? Then we're going to tell it what aspect of that object are we changing, right? Are we changing the text? Are we changing the rectangular area? And then we need to enter the command. So I'm going to show you an example here. Let's go with plot.title. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, look, I want you to adjust the plot title, right? That is the overall object. Now I'm going to say, I want you to adjust the element underscore text. Now you'll notice here that we have different options, right? If I was working with a background, right? Something that was a rectangular shape, I would use element rect. I'm working with the text, so I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to go with HJUST equals 0.5. Now what this is going to do, it's going to move it to the center. So HJust stands for horizontal justification. 0 is all the way to the left, 0.5 is in the middle, 1 is all the way to the right. Now, I can also change color, and I'm going to go with white, and you'll see why I did white in a minute. But the key point here is that I can change multiple arguments on the same line. Now, let's suppose that I want to go with the background, right? Again, I am specifying the object within the plot that I want to change, but I have to list the specific aspect of that object that I want to change. So I'm not doing element text here. I'm doing element underscore rect, and I'm going to go with fill equals, and let's go with black. Now, a couple things that you'll notice that are different here. Number 1, I did element rect, but also I did fill, and I didn't do color. Why did I do fill instead of color? The reason why is because color, it would have just done a line, right? And I'll show you that here in a minute. But color's not going to be what we want, right? So I'm doing fill equals black. Now let's also go with panel dot background. And again, here I'm changing a rectangular area. So I'm going to go element rect, and I'm going to go fill FILL equals BLACK. Now I also want to show you what would happen if I did color. So if I just do color, and let's go with purple, let's have some fun. What you'll notice is that it fills with black, but it gives that purple outline. So that's the difference between fill and color. Now we're doing pretty good. A couple different things that I want to customize. You'll notice a huge problem here. We can't see the axis anymore, right? They are black. The fill is black. It's just not working. So we're going to go with axis dot text, or axis title. We're going to change them both anyway. Element underscore text. And again here, since we're working with text, we're going to go with color, right? There's nothing really to fill in, so we're not going to use fill. We're going to go with color. And again, you can make this whatever you want. I'm just going to go with white because it's a nice contrast. And then we're going to do the same thing for axis dot text as well. Element ELEMENT underscore text. Color equals white. All right, so we're looking pretty good there. Now the last thing that I want to customize is this legend. So the legend, it's looking okay, but having everything black and then just that white box kind of looks weird, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with legend dot background. We're going to go with element underscore rect fill equals BLACK. ACK. We're going to go with color. What color? So I think I'm really liking the purple for the outline and then the white for the text. So we're just going to keep it that way. We're going to go with color equals purple. All right, let's see how that's looking. Okay, pretty good. Now, obviously, there are some issues here, right? I can't see my legend title. I can't see anything like that. So I'm going to go with legend dot legend dot, and let's go with legend text. I'm going to go with element text, and what that's going to do, it's going to change the text. Now what you'll notice is that it did not change my title, so I actually need to change that separately. I'm going to go with legend legend dot, oops, sorry, where did I mess that up? legend dot tit element title. I'm going to go with element text. I'm going to go with color. I am going to go with white. Okay, so that is looking really good. I think I'm happy with that. I think that's a good stopping point. Now, obviously there is a ton more that you could do. I've made previous videos showing more in-depth customization. So let's suppose that we didn't want these automatically generated colors, right? Maybe we wanted to do a different color scheme. Could we do that? Yes, of course, we could do that. We could specify custom colors. There's a lot of different things we could do, but this will get you 99% of the way there. This will cover the vast majority of customization options that you want to do. So I hope you found the video useful. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.